Hello, everyone, you beautiful stars of the morning. If you're new to this channel, welcome and thank you for subscribing. Hit that like button. Today, I'm really excited about this interview. This is my wonderful friend, Matt, and his story. Wow, we're going to get into it, guys. It is a journey of faith and holding faith that he sent me a text the other day and started telling me how faith showed up right when everything looked drastic and peril. Bam, there's the faith. And he started telling me that, and I said, Matt, you have to share this. So welcome, Matt. And anyone who knows my interviews, Matt, I do start with, what would be your definition of awakening? Because we all have our own different definition.
For me, it was realizing I was magic.
Oh, love that.
My time in Desert Storm, there was one night and one scud alert that I really felt I should be dead.
Yeah.
I left my gear out on the truck, an alarm went off. I went out to get it. 2 Patriot missiles went out, and when they go, there's a sonic boom, and I got picked up and thrown and slammed onto the ground. And as I grabbed my gear and got back in the bunker, the missiles exploded and the chemical alarms went off. And I'm thinking, why am I alive? And there was like something that shifted in me, that I had a purpose and a meaning, and I was being preserved for that. I didn't tell anyone. I just knew with the certainty that that was the deal.
Yeah.
And when I got home, I kind of went in a downward spiral, went through rehab. And like a lot of us, you got to find a power greater than yourself. My uncle's an Episcopalian minister. Him and my mom had a falling out. We weren't allowed to go to church. So it's like the whole Christian faith escaped me. So now in one of the AA meetings, it's like, I'm an alcoholic addict and I don't know Jesus. You all have to hate me, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so one of my friends, she went through 12 years of Catholic school, and one of her girlfriends had married an Episcopalian minister who left the ministry and became a modern day shaman. And so went to one of his weekend seminars, and it was just one of those things that my time in the military, I've been to Japan, I've been to the Gulf, I've been to Washington State, Panama, just kind of a little bit all over. And I always connect with nature.
Yeah.
You know, I've had times where snakes have come out of the bush and they'll go past me.
So wait, hold on, Matt. Let me, I'm sorry, I got to cut you off for just a second because I want to clarify. So you guys know, he had a sergeant in the military that said, Matt, 5 words. Matt, 25 words. Give it to me. So I will, it might appear that I'm being rude, but I've been friends with Matt for a very long time. We met in 06, Matt. That's when we met. And even though we've moved and lost touch and then regained touch and, you know, touch and base, I want to grasp the fact, okay, so your awakening, you really want to represent it as, I realized we're magical, I'm magical. And having such a big traumatic event in the war, in Desert Storm, and then having to walk through that journey of coming back and not doing so well, then getting sober, then getting healthy, feeling maybe a bit rejected by others, but then found your foothold, your place within shamanism. Did you feel that shamanism even just enhanced more of that magic within you, for you personally?
Part of the magic I'm referring to is being able to identify yourself. I had Peter, the shaman who I was learning from, and his wife, Astrid, call me a shaman, but I associated shaman with being Native American, and I felt it would be disrespectful to call myself that.
Yeah, that's how I always felt. Yeah.
Because we're so hung up on labels. And Astrid said to me, well, would you consider yourself a mystic? Are you a wise elder? You
Yeah.
know, pick a name and work with it, but you have shamanic gifts. I'm not into a lot of the ceremony. I don't sing, I don't dance or drum, but I do a lot of the healing.
Right.
Now, the 25 words or less in a previous lifetime, I'm sure I was a bard, because when I went to the Gulf War, I had my dog tags with my religious preferences, Druid.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
I
So,
figured if I was captured by the Muslims, they would take more pity on me than if I was a Christian.
bad. Anyway, so
So moving on.
I want to say, guys, this before we really get into what this interview is all about. Saturday night, I was on the Milky Way Soul Tribe and channel, and we were discussing what determines human beings, as great. And great really just means above average. And for me, Matt was one of those people that were above average for me. Not just because of the backstory, not just because of what all he experienced in Desert Storm and in life. But I remember when we first met, we were with a group of people. And actually, I was getting sober at the time too. And I was a kid, guys. I mean, I was like 25, 26, you know? And I didn't know what the hell was going on in my life at all. And I went to a couple meetings and Matt was leading them. And Matt had a presence that I felt safe enough to walk up to him and say, I mean, I think about the words that came out of my mouth was, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. What should I be doing? and,
Pretty
and
much what
Matt,
Kat said.
yeah, pretty much. And Matt sat with me for a long time and just we talked and he shared and then we became close and really kind of a mentor in that aspect for me during such chaos for my life. And you could feel that energy. You could feel Matt not only having the magic and experiencing the magic and knowing his power, but also so gentle and welcoming and peaceful that me, who didn't trust a living person at that time, not even myself, felt comfortable enough to walk up to him and say, I'm completely lost. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Help. And that to me makes someone great. It really does to hold that kind of presence that allows others to feel welcomed enough to ask for help, ask for guidance, say something that they don't feel safe to say to somebody else. And that I do want to say, guys, is the point of this channel. I want to jump forward. So Matt, you are great. And by the way, thank you for your service. I've said it a million times to you, but I want to say it, out in the internet world. Let's jump ahead. Okay. So Matt does have VA benefits. He does have this, he does have that, right? And there are definitely reasons why. I mean, he just told us that a bomb, all this through him, and then chemicals. And I mean, I just can't imagine. Thank you all who have served, men and women. We do appreciate you. Moving forward, I moved to Georgia, you moved to Colorado, and you're working as an electrician. Well, then we all know what's happened in the past few years, COVID. So the job was lost because they lost the contract or whatever. I mean, we all know what happened to people. But then I do want to emphasize, okay, so Matt tries to go back to work once it starting again, kicking back in, and we got to wear masks. We got to do this. And some of us, ladies and gentlemen, we just can't. We're just not able to do that. Matt, will you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, my time in the military and been working construction since I got out, so probably 20 plus years, it's always a dirty environment. And then moving out to Colorado, you go up in elevation, it becomes harder to breathe at certain points. And I was working at one job site that its elevation was 9,500 feet. So it's almost a mile and a half
Yeah.
up. And again, drywall, dust, everything else. Well, I was having problems breathing and got a cold, went in the doc and found out that I have COPD, and they were concerned it was borderline emphysema. So when I went back to work after the COVID, having to wear the mask restricted how much I could breathe. And then with the COPD, it was hard to breathe on top of that.
Right.
And at the time, the particular job was working in the basement in the boiler room area of a senior place. So now you add the heat and
The heat.
everything else.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do it. So I just had to let the guy know, I can't do this. I apologize. I'm leaving.
Yeah,
And
that's
that was
heat
the last
stroke.
day I worked.
That's a whole mixture of, danger. That's a whole mixture. And I will say, I live in the South, and unfortunately, I saw a lot of older people that would be walking around outside with a mask on, like they're walking from store to store, and then they would faint. Somebody would catch them because of the heat, because wearing the mask, because we're older, because possibly COPD. I personally, I struggle wearing a mask because I don't breathe that well in the first place, I guess. So things like that, folks, lead into then that snowball effect, right? And Matt's story really kind of begins there with
Well,
that.
at that time too, I'm 59,
Yeah,
and it's, what the hell am I going to do now?
right,
I'm used to
right,
working construction. I can't do this. I'm like 3 years from retirement age for most companies. Who's going to hire somebody my age?
right.
What am I going to relearn? I have different skills from the military, but how do you go apply them? And it's like some of the buzzwords that HR requires. Again, I'm 59. A lot of the people that work HR are in their 20s, getting their feet in the doors at the corporates.
Right.
And I really don't relate to you, and I don't expect you to relate to me. So
Yeah.
there's a bit of that disconnect. So a lot of that kind of led into a depression spiral with the whole thing, not being able to work. And, it's like, what am I going to do?
Well, that's where I'm kind of leading into. So this is a story of how do we hold the faith when it appears that everything's working against us, you know? So you just said, I fell into a depression. A lot of people, for all circumstances, fell into stuff like this, and we're just now trying to come out of things. Um, or even now, kind of experiencing a whole new facet of it. And so you ended up getting some unemployment, but that ran its course, which it will. Um, you ended up, most of us, received the stimulus checks. Well, those ran its course as they did for 19 months. You had lived penny to penny. Let's not say paycheck to paycheck, penny to penny, and we're on the verge of eviction. Let's start with the process of trying to get the VA benefits up and running even more so, because there was an issue there. And just a few words as to at the beginning what that looked like, because I know what it looked like in the middle. So we're going to just talk about the beginning.
So when I first moved out here to Colorado was to be closer to my girlfriend at the time. And I started Buddhist studies. She had been following it. And the person that was running the Sangha, she was a clinical psychiatrist specializing in vets. And after one of the Buddhist studies, she asked me, how long have you had PTSD? And I'm like, I don't have PTSD. And she's like, oh, honey, you're in bad shape.
Yeah. Oh, honey.
So she set me up to go to the VA out here in Colorado. And I had here, they did a full exam, physical, the whole 9 yards, have hearing loss, and then the PTSD. And this is back in 2017. And they come back and say I have 20% hearing loss in one ear and 10% PTSD.
Okay.
And so it took like 6 months to get that finding. And so now I've been awarded $300 a
Well,
month to live
yeah,
on.
that was the first like 6 months. Guys, this is like a 19-month journey. That was
And
the
so,
first like 6 months. Your first, they kind of ran you through some testing.
right.
So that's 20% or 20% loss of hearing and only 10% PTSD. Guys, this is just the beginning of this journey. That's why I'm emphasizing that. And oh, here's an extra like $300.
Right. So I ended up going to the county programs and got some rental assistance at that time. And then I was able to get food stamps and Medicaid, because if you've ever dealt with the VA, it's near impossible to deal with them.
Yeah.
Excuse me. If you're in the trades, even when I worked in Chicago as a union electrician, you make too much money
Yeah.
and you have such good insurance, you're not allowed to go to the VA.
Right. And so I'm not going to say her name, but I had a cousin that was kind of very high up in the VA medical benefit that used to years ago. I mean, she would go to Congress and try to explain to these people, our men and women are not getting what they need, period. I mean, and she would be a part of a team just presenting to Congress nonstop. Our people, our lovely vets are not getting what they need. And unfortunately, the last time I saw her a couple of years ago, we were talking and she left because she couldn't take it anymore, as far as standing in front of our government, telling the burden on our people that served us, and really not seeing any growth, any change. So there are people that are out there trying to fight for it, trying to make it happen. But in reality, guys, our VAs, our vets are not being taken care of the way they need to. So that 6 months, that we're going to find that medical review was actually not really accurate fully. $300 doesn't make that big of a difference. So how did you feel, Matt, receiving that information that, okay, so you did get food stamps. Good. You can eat. That's a plus. You did get some assistance from the city to help with rent. But you're still a human that needs to live, and there is cost. There is this and that. How did you feel at that time?
I come from a long military family, and I'd been in the service 13 years when I got out, and I was an E6. So you're trained to be self-sufficient. You're trained to be able to tackle any problem. And I'm feeling like a loser. I got my blinds drawn. I don't want my neighbors to see me because I can't pay my rent. And what must you be thinking about me? And it's like, I would hate me too. And, so I just tried to stay as quiet as I could and not be problematic. And I had found out recently that during this time, my management group for my apartment complex changed 3 times. So I fell through the cracks a few times. Otherwise, I probably would have been out and not had 19 months of unpaid rent, you know? So it's like every month you're getting these scare tactic notices, demand for possession.
From the new hands that came in to take over the apartment complex. Every month they
Yeah,
would kind of be like, "Hey, we see," or, "Hey, did you pay your rent this month?" Because they don't even know who you are. I've lived through
right.
it. Yeah, they have no
And
idea.
then one of the groups wanted to wait 3 months to see the books balance before they were going to start evictions because they just wanted to try and get it all put together. And one of the changes of management, the original owners of the management company didn't like the new people, so they got rid of them. So in the process of that, they changed computers and softwares and had to pretty much rebuild everything from scratch. So it's like you got to have faith that my time in the military, everything always seems to work out for me. It always seems to come through and come together about 11:30 at night. I wish it happened at 9, but that's where it happens for me.
Yeah.
And I can look at things in the military prior to going to the Gulf War. I promised the people's families that I would bring every one of them home, but they had to listen to me. That's a bold statement when you're going to war.
Yeah.
Had I known what I know, I would have never said something so foolish, but I knew what I knew, you know? And it wasn't until that time where I realized I've been doing stuff like this most of my life and I didn't realize what it was. You know, I got explained to me by Peter that he saw me in a previous lifetime and I was connected to St. Francis. I didn't know anything about St. Francis, had to go look it up.
Yeah.
And then it was explained to me that I was a sin eater, that
Oh,
before, that before the
okay.
Church of England and the Roman Catholic Church came through, they didn't have confession.
So,
But
Matt, I'm sorry. I'm going to cut you off one more time. Um, you said I just knew. How do you put that into practice? Because I know so there was something that you started saying to yourself over and over again that you just trusted and knew. When did you start saying like that affirmation or claiming it to attach it to your faith that this will be, this is?
excuse me. When I first met Peter, shortly after that, I closed out my annuity from the Chicago Electricians Union. I went to a mind, body, and spirit expo and got overwhelmed and just stood frozen in front of this table. And this woman came up and put a couple pieces of paper in my hand. And she said, "Go home. You're overwhelmed. Take a breath and look at these papers, because if you don't know what you want, if you don't know what you're looking for spiritually, it can be confusing."
Yeah.
So I now have money. I now have an opportunity to get some schooling in the spiritual realm. And it was in the process of taking that I realized I had gifts. I was being shown how to use them. And I was able to say, I've always just kind of known that things work out. And as long as I know that and I keep practicing it, that I'm not going to be a failure. God has never dropped me on my ass. No matter when one chapter closes and a new one opens, it always seems to be better. Being an old storyteller, part of my job is to show people triumph over tragedy, that you can survive, but you just got to believe. And sometimes when it's the darkest is when you're the closest. My mom died of stage 4 lung cancer, and she always told me that, just keep going, just keep
Yeah.
going. And it was at some point I realized God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, has a sense of humor based on how warped and twisted yours is.
Well,
I realized at one point that there was light in the tunnel. there was just a curve between me and it.
Okay, yeah, you're gonna find that curve. Well, okay, but hold on. So even though we have that knowing, even though we might know it inside in our heart, let's say, our mind in that time, like you were just talking about, when things really were getting rough, you shut those curtains. You felt like a failure. You felt this way. But I also know, because I kind of was in this journey a little bit with you, we were talking about things. You kept saying one, like, I'm a millionaire, or what,
Oh, my
some
daily
kind of
mantra.
like, yeah, your
Hey,
mantra was,
Courtney, have I mentioned yet to you today that I'm a debt-free, lottery-winning multimillionaire? This apartment is my home as I work on healing my body, so I can hire my friends as consultants.
love it. So and I remember one time we had a conversation because I knew you were saying that over and over again. Like, I know if I say this, the money's going to come through. I know if I say this, because we're going to jump a little bit from feeling very discouraged, very much like failure. You start saying this, you start using your tools that you have, the knowing within doesn't necessarily always mix correctly with what's going on with us. We have these moments, and the ebb and flow. The ebb and flow is the most difficult in my opinion. Because when we're like, yes, I'm powerful and I am all knowing, I'm magic and I'm good. That, okay, for a week we might be there. And then the next week it's like we come out of seeing ourselves like that and all of a sudden go, oh my goodness, what the hell's happening? Um, that ebb and flow though, to hold the faith, no matter if it's good, if you're a bit up, if you're a bit down, if you're somewhere in between. I think speaking like you did you know I'm a millionaire lottery winning? Because I remember through this process, there were times, Matt, that you were really down and you just kept saying that, like, I know this is going to turn around. And you kept saying that. You would say some other things. And one night we had a conversation, and I remember saying, well, Matt, maybe right now, I think it's great that you're going to be a millionaire and a lottery winner. Why don't we just get that apartment settled? Like, let's just look at that. Because you were at that time going through another process of getting even different benefits, more benefits, because it was becoming even more aware. Whoa, his vision's not, like, your vision was not good. Hearing was way vastly not good. Like, more became revealed as you're going through this ugh, struggle that made you even have to hold your faith even more so. So can we jump forward to, okay, now this is legit. I have to get benefits, true benefits, because there's a lot more going on here, and just the process of having to file that. And I do want to note to people, Matt did not know at this time that he was falling through the cracks as he was with all the change of hands with the new people. He
Right.
didn't really learn that until the very end. And so that often happens too. We only experience oh man, there's faith, there's our belief, there's our power, our authority, the magic within. There, it showed up, and we only see it in like these big ways. And usually, when looking back or finding out more information, it was there all the time. We just didn't know. And so there was this end gap and this again, 19 months of fighting for, because the unemployment ran out, stimulus ran out. Things are running out, folks. Thank goodness he's slipping through cracks, but he doesn't know that. He does not know that at the time. So every day, am I being evicted today? Every day. That's in his mind. On top of trying to hold the faith. So let's talk a little briefly about that end cap of like, whoa, my eyes aren't good. My hearing's much more, needs more help than they thought. Come to find out, vastly more PTSD. So what was it like when you're finding that's like pretty much, wow, I'm a little bit more broken than I was aware of?
So getting older, you don't realize that if you slow down, things really slow down. You know, Newton's law of motion. If you're not in motion, I was getting up, climbing ladders. I'd be out of the house, starting work at 6 in the morning. Now I don't have to be up until noon if I don't want to.
Right.
So you lose a sense of purpose and you lose your get up and go. And then you keep getting these notices, and it's like, no, seriously, what are we going to do? And social media, you talk to somebody on the phone, the next thing you know, you look on Facebook and there's ads for, if you're a veteran and have problems getting disability, contact us. So I contact one of those lawyers. After about 3 months, they were useless.
Yeah.
I'm bitching about them. Another ad comes up. I get with them and I get new paperwork. And in the time from 2017 to 2019, the government started using VES, Veterans Evaluation Service, because they were so backlogged at the VAs. So I had to go see individual doctors, individual specialists. Some of them were video conferences, and the video conference with the woman for my PTSD, I specifically asked, because they screwed up the appointment, that the person I see be close to my age.
Yeah. Okay.
The two previous times, I'm dealing with young women in the military. If you have a mental problem, you don't want to admit that, because again, now you're more of a loser. And well, to young, beautiful women, you know, old guys, we think, well, I don't want her to think I'm a loser. You know, it'd be like my daughter thinking I'm a, so I'm
Yeah.
not going to say all the stuff. And when you tend to be a helper and help other people out, you don't always take care of yourself. And I don't want you to know how badly I'm fucked up, because then maybe you won't like, pardon me, that
Okay.
maybe you won't like me. And I have a problem with that. So I had decided that I was going to tell whatever doctor I had to see, for whatever reason I had to see him, the 100% truth, no matter how much I'd buried. And it was like really, really getting honest, you know, the dark night of the soul kind of stuff,
Yeah.
where you're just reaching in and it's like,
Yeah.
here you go, I can't do this anymore. And then so this becomes a process. And at some point, courtesy of VES, my packet got expedited. So all the paperwork had gone in for the VA in December. Paperwork for SSDI went in December. My cataract was really bad in both eyes. My left eye would be like looking through wax paper that was tinted yellow. My right eye was kind of blurry. And so I had to ask friends, can I send you portions of this SSDI paperwork? Can you read it back? Can I come over? Can you print it out? Can you help me fill it out? And so I had to swallow my pride and ask for help. So all of this is kind of weighing on you, and it feeds into the depression, because once I had spoken to the woman, the psychiatrist, I realized how many other things were PTSD related that I had no clue. And I'm one of those people that thirst for knowledge, you know, it doesn't matter if it's spiritual or whatever. And so I would constantly be telling the landlord, I'm working with these people. I've reapplied to them. I've freshly applied to SSDI. I have stuff in with housing referral. You know, I still have a torn right meniscus. I need to have surgery on that, but I'm not going to get the surgery until I know I have a secure place to live, because, you know, 6-month recovery, I don't want to be homeless.
Right.
You
I
know,
mean,
so
Matt, I do have to say, guys, this is the reality for a lot of people. For VAs or not, this has been a whole lot of the reality. And so we're trying, we're not trying to expose the struggle. We want to emphasize the solution, the hope, the faith, that if you hold on to it, it will show up. There's that saying, don't quit before the miracle happens.
Faith without works is dead.
Yeah, exactly. So Matt, I was there present with you during this, and I have to say, I don't know if I had ever seen you in life be that vulnerable, ask for help, also allow those that cared about you to hold you up and say, it's okay to speak the truth when it's involved all this stuff. It's okay, Matt. I mean, I remember we'd be on Zoom meetings and it was like, Matt, you tell that doctor everything. You know what I mean? And so you allowed yourself to be vulnerable. You allowed help. You allowed all these little, what I see as like little elements, little things that faith loves to watch us do
Right.
because it's good for our development, our soul, our spirit moving forward to even help others even more so, and ourselves.
It's like when I was told I was a sin eater, people come up and tell me their story. I may or may not know them. For whatever reason, they feel comfortable that I'm not going to betray their confidence, that
Right.
some people, they just need to be heard. So I'm a good listener. Other people want some advice. So that's where the whole concept of I need my mat time came about. And I found that a lot of my close friends were letting me know that I don't give you that opportunity. I don't come to you for my Courtney time.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm afraid that I'm going to burden you and you're not going to, all the little self-doubt. So again, it's playing those tapes and stepping through them. And it's like, okay, now at 62, these are some of the things I'm accomplishing, but wisdom is experience of being stupid and doing something so you learn out, well, that didn't work.
Right.
So there's all these cosmic events, the solar flares, the full moons, Mercury in retrograde, this, that, and the next thing. I'm empathic. I feel some of it. Okay, I can chalk some of it up. But you know what? At the end of the day, I still know that God has my back. I'm not going to be dropped on my ass. I pray to a Sky Father, Earth Mother, and I combine all that energy into my heart and share that with anyone who needs it. And so if I'm doing that, it's got to cause those deities to smile.
Yeah, that's exactly what that's the whole time you just spoke. The aspect of choosing yourself. Because Matt, I will say, I mean, I've known you for quite a while. You are that loving caretaker. You are that loving giver. You are there always and there's a lot of people that are going to listen to this that are that as well. And when you first start waking up, you even get that even more so. I want to help everybody. I want to help others. I want to, yes, without placing emphasis on choosing yourself first. And I do want to, I mean, I had seen you through the years, and we all do at different times choose ourselves for whatever usually drastic situation we're in. But you did it differently this time with more of the vulnerability and the humility of, okay, I'm going to lean on somebody else's shoulder and not have to be the shoulder to cry on all the time. I'm going to find shoulders and I'm going to speak my truth completely because there's some darkness in me. Even though I'm a shaman, even though I am about love and light, there's darkness here. And which I shouldn't say dark, it's just human.
No, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Nature demands a balance. So however kind, gentle, and polite you see me, I have the ability to be evil and sadistic just as much.
Just as much, exactly.
And some of
So
us have released that genie and we know how hard it is to put it back in.
yeah.
So we become extra nice to ensure that that containment vessel gets
Yeah.
stopped.
Yeah, or at least the balance is present. I am a believer that the most powerful are the ones that can balance that beautifully. I really do believe that. Yeah.
My therapist had to work on me for a while that I struggled with the concept of conceit and confidence. I always felt if I told you I could do something well, that would come across as being conceited. And he explained to me that a conceited person walks into a room and tells you how great they are. A confident person walks into a room and doesn't have to say a word.
Right. Right.
I was like, wow.
Right. Right.
You know, and so then he also worked on me that value is a word we toss around and we kind of self-deprecate with it. It's like, well, people don't value me. And he's like, you think that. He goes, you once told me that you asked at a meeting for help moving and you didn't think people were going to show up. 7 people with trucks showed up. You all floated up stuff. You got it to the new place. You offered to pay for gas. No one took it.
Yeah.
And 4 of them offered to go get another load.
Yeah.
Because that's them showing you the value that they've placed on you.
Yeah.
You don't get to know what it is, but when somebody offers you help, to say no or turn it down is a slap in the face because now they have an opportunity to show you. So I had to go through some of that when I asked for help, I was also surprised that people would agree to help.
Yeah.
And then I just had to take the help that was offered.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it was cash. At one point in that 19 months, I did a GoFundMe page and I had a fair amount of money came in. I started teaching classes, you know, $25 a class. And sometimes you'd have no one. Sometimes you'd have 6 or 8 people.
Yeah.
It was one of those things that also got me out and realized that I need to continue to be social. We need to let people know our stories. We need to let people know from time to time I'm depressed.
Yeah.
I don't want to kill myself. I think about it, but I'm not going to do it. And then some of the times when I'm the most down, I'm the most depressed and low is when people like you, Courtney, and some of my other spiritual friends, they just call, hey, you were on my mind. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, God, I got the
Yeah.
message. I matter, and these people would be
Yeah.
lost.
You matter. Yeah. And sorry, I cried on yesterday's show. I can't be crying again today. I'm very I'm just
You know,
go ahead, Matt.
so like the whole thing with the rental on Tuesday of last week, I get a notice at 10:45 in the morning that you're 19,000 or 17,000 in the hole and you need to turn in your keys. We're going to come with the cops to ensure you get out. So I've called my attorneys and I get voicemails.
Okay, so hold on one second. So Matt is jumping into right where I was going to ask him. 19 months from, oh, you've got a little bit of stuff going on. Here's an extra 13 or $300. Oh, struggle. Learn to be more vulnerable. Learn to accept help. Learn to cry on somebody else's shoulder. While all this little faith nuances are showing up, God's showing up, but we don't know. Now we are at that hour. That is what Matt was about to jump into. We are at that hour, people. Things I want to say, things flipped in up within what, a couple of hours, Matt? Go into it, darling.
So 10:45, I get the notice from the landlord, we're kicking you out. You've had more than sufficient time. I contact attorneys for VA, SSDI, see if they can do anything. I get their voicemails. It's now a little after 12. I contact county rental assistance only to get their answering service because they're at lunch until 1. So I send copies of the text from the landlord to the rental assistance via email. And at about 10 after 1, I get a response back that you owed too many months worth. The amount you owe exceeds the amount we'll pay. Therefore, any assistance to you is denied at this point in time. So now I'm really freaking out. I have a friend I can potentially move in with. I got her voicemail. So I'm sitting here.
So, and they're talking about, no, this, because I think you also sent a text to the apartment people saying, can you give me just a few days?
Right. I wanted to be out by the end of the weekend because my friend in Southern Colorado, I'd need her and some of her friends to come with trucks.
Yeah. Help.
I
Yeah.
got a bed and a dresser that I really want. And then I really don't have much. I've been kind of a minimalistic,
Yeah.
except for letting the trash pile up. But they didn't think they're going to be able to give me that time. So now I'm trying to figure out what to do. It's 1:15.
And they're saying they're going to get the sheriff involved to be a part of
Right.
the eviction. Wow. Jeez.
And I
Okay.
still got the blinds drawn tight. I got problems walking. I'm out of breath from anything. And it's just like, now the anxiety's kicked in an overdrive. I feel like I've
Yeah.
been sucker punched by the housing assistance people. And then I get this text. And it's got like 6 numbers across the top. And it's like, your bank is letting you know a deposit was made for $15,000 to your account. And I'm thinking, this can't be real. This is
Yeah.
one of those scams.
Right. That's how I would have thought
So,
too, Matt. Yeah, that's how everybody would have thought.
so I'm like, okay. So I do a quick search of my bank account and there's $15,000 in my account. And I'm still not believing that this is legit until 10 minutes later. So now it's about 20 after 2. I get a message from my bank in an email form with the bank header on its stationery informing me that the VA has made a deposit into my account that they're paying 2 days early of $15,000.
Okay.
So now in like the period of 4 hours, I've gone to the cops are coming. We're not going to help you. Get the hell out to, oh, here you go. You want to pay your debt?
You want to pay your debt. People, please hear that. That knowing the magic that you said, that knowing that we are magical, that never giving up, that knowing God always has your back, the knowing that things will work out in your favor. Guys, that was, what was that, like 10:45? Yeah, about 4 hours. Complete doom and gloom. I don't know where I'm going to live. I need help. The sheriff is coming. Yeah.
The roller coaster's going up.
Yeah, right. To 4 hours later, bam. You asked, therefore you received. And that's the power of don't give up until the miracle happens. Don't quit. Don't lose the faith, even if it's like we talked through all of this. Matt, I know you had a lot of times through these months that, I mean, you were really depressed at some times. Even if that is happening, even if that happens, still have some kind of knowing inside things will turn out. I'm just not experiencing it right now. I'm just low. You know what I mean? Just I that is faith to me. That is faith.
Well, things always work out. It seems to be about 11:30. On this particular day, it was 11:58-ish,
Wow.
but again, they deferred on my knee and my sleep apnea. So there's potential the VA will rule more in my favor. There could be a little bit more additional back pay. SSDI hasn't made a ruling yet, but later on that week, I got called by a robocall from SSDI going over some of the things that I can and can't do. I filled out additional paperwork for them as to things I can and can't do, submitted the paperwork from the VA to the attorneys I have, who forwarded it to the SSDI, because normally if you get 100% disability from the VA, SSDI will give you 100% disability with them as well.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
It
Maybe
doesn't
good tip
always
for
go
people.
hand in hand, but sometimes it can.
Okay.
And each of the attorney groups I had pretty much don't do anything for you unless you lose, and then they go back on your behalf.
Yeah, that's usually.
And if they win the case, they can only take up to $6,000 or 25%, whichever is less.
Okay.
So they approved the PTSD, the VA did. They denied a service connection to the COPD. So that's something that the law firm could argue on my behalf. The sleep apnea, they can argue that I do have it and that it's related to the military. You know, there's nights that you're sleeping and there's scud alerts and you're hearing shit exploding in the sky.
There's a lot going on. Yeah, there's a lot going on. So,
you know, so there's additional more money coming from other places. So it's like, you know, being a millionaire, having the money caught up to where I paid 14 on the 19, I still owe money. I'm going to have almost 3,000 coming in a month. So I'll be able to pay like a month and a half rent,
and
still have, you know, $1,000 left to buy groceries and things.
Right, exactly.
You know, so I'm in a better place. And then I went in the following day with the landlord and signed a new lease, helped me get into my portal. You know, I forgot a few passwords, getting a bit older, you know. But she was really good and kind about it. And then she's like,
everything.
And she's like, well, let's reapply to housing assistance for this 5,000 you still owe.
Right.
They said, as soon as you got a lease, you know, we can help you with the first and last month's rent. So that'd be a couple thousand knocked off. So she's turned that paperwork in for me.
So here's the thing that I'm hearing is that not giving up, having kind of just really know your magic and not giving up. It's not just the miracle, the one miracle can happen. Because remember, there were things happening throughout that nobody knew. We didn't see, we didn't know. We find that out at the end when the big miracle happens. But now it's not just it happens once. Once faith really shows up, once the miracle really shows up, once grace, favor, all of it, prosperity starts showing up, it'll keep rolling out for you. You know, and I do want to say, I think, Matt, you becoming more vulnerable and willing to ask for help and you're also continuing that. Because the old Matt I knew would never like to ask a young lady that's working somewhere to help with computer because I don't know what I'm doing. I forgot passwords. You would have hated that. So all of the growth development in a very difficult struggle, it's just so valuable. It really is.
Well, the other thing that people don't get a full perspective of in this is I'm kind of a big kid. I'm 6'3" and 350 pounds.
Yeah.
So I'm a presence. I carry bare healing energy.
Yeah.
So to a lot of women of different ages, I'm a brother, I'm an uncle, I'm a father figure, grandfather, whatever. You know, I've had women that have had guys hitting on them and they just come up and put their arm around me. So, Uncle John, my name's not John. I'm like, yeah, what's up?
Right.
You know, so I am that protector. I view myself sometimes as a knight in rusty armor. I've been through so many battles, it's hard to keep the shit polished. I'll just keep it sharp and honed.
Yeah.
You know, but I've also been blessed that I can share my story with people. I relate to a variety of different people, educated, uneducated, you know, people in America, people around the world. And I've also learned that if we're spiritual, we're part of a team. We help each other. I know your strong points and, you know, I've shared my weaknesses, but sometimes we're helping somebody and they're just not getting what we're saying. We're speaking two different languages. I can say, you know what? I have this friend, Courtney. Maybe if you talk to her, it'll make more sense.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm not the messenger that God wants, but I'm the directory to get to the right messenger.
Yeah. And that's, that's a little bit different topic, but I do love that because I see that as how we should all be operating. It's not all about me being able to do everything. No, I would send people your way. I would send people this way because that's how it should be. Because we really do need to care more about what people are receiving instead of making it about us. And I fully believe that. Matt, I do want to say, because we're kind of running into some time here, is there
Okay.
any last thing you want to say about holding the faith or awakening? 5 words, Matt.
I radiate out the divine. I used to hold it in to not let you know I was something different. Now, when people encounter me, they know there's something about me. So I'll speak to anyone because sometimes you're part of my soul tribe. And I want you to know that we're here. That if you can feel my presence, if you can feel the unconditional love, if I can just make you smile, then God is smiling on two of us. So the more I can let that out, because I'm no longer afraid somebody's going to think I'm a nut for being awakened. That person that's awakening and is scared, come talk to me.
Yeah.
I'll help
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Goes right back to how we first met. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, man. Can you help? Like, I seriously want, I think I was so frustrated that I slammed a book down. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And nobody's speaking the right language for me to understand.
You know, so I view that as one of those gifts from God. So if people are coming up to you, it's not because you're weird or you got lettuce in your teeth. God is sending them to you. Be the help you can.
And may I say, Matt, you occasionally do like a Wednesday night discussion healing circle via Zoom. Can I offer, if there's anybody that does resonate with them, that they can come through me to go to you and communicate? Or is there a
Um,
way for them to possibly communicate with you? Go to your Facebook page?
they can go to my Facebook page, Matt Gesking, Gesking. I've been doing the meetings on Messenger.
Okay,
It's just a little bit easier dealing with Zoom because
okay.
some weeks I get 2 people, and again, some weeks I get 8. So if I start getting more, then I can go back to a business thing on Zoom. But right
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just
Well, in
digital.
summers here, everybody's business is going to be a little up and down, but even if people just want to say thank you, I think that would be good. So his name should be up here. That's Gesking. And thank you, Matt. And thank you, everyone who has been listening. I hope it inspired you to know that you are magic and to hold the faith, because you never know when the miracle is going to show up. Thank you all. Have a good day. Namaste.
25 words or less.